It was the family business, you know? That kind of thing. Tradition, legacy, the promise that one day all of this will be yours. Except that one day never came. And what no one said out loud was that the business had been in the red for a long time. A very long time. Then came the crisis. Sales dropped, debts with suppliers, overdue rent. They called me in a hurry. I still remember my mom's voice on the phone. "Emma, without you we're going to lose everything." And I went. Left my job, my stability, my plans to start my own business. Threw it all away, thinking I was doing the right thing. Because when you hear the word family, it feels like saying no is forbidden. I arrived to find chaos. The finances were a disaster, the storage was packed with unsold products, and no one, absolutely no one, wanted to face the truth. My brothers? Nowhere. They only showed up to give opinions and complain. And my father? Tuck in old ways, as if the world still worked like it did in the 90s. But I rolled up my sleeves. Worked harder than I ever had. Went through the books, renegotiated with suppliers, cut costs, revamped the marketing, updated the website. I barely slept, ate poorly, lived with my mind constantly spinning. But little by little, things started to move. And every time I thought about giving up, my mother would come with that emotional speech. "You're the hope of this family, my daughter." And I believed her. 'Cause back then, I still thought we were all in the same boat. Little did I know some were rowing forward, and others were quietly poking holes in the bottom. After that difficult conversation with my parents where I basically begged for a chance, I dove headfirst into the family business. The workshop was falling apart, papers everywhere, debt up to our necks. It was almost a death sentence. But I didn't see just a pile of bills. I saw the history of my family. Every oil stain on the floor had meaning. Every lost customer was a name that once trusted us. And I wasn't ready to let all that go. The first few months were insane. I practically camped out at the workshop. I slept on the office couch, woke up with a sore back, and went straight to changing oil or fixing engines. I learned the hard way how to negotiate with suppliers, renegotiate debts, deal with difficult customers, and cut costs without killing the business. I was the owner, manager, mechanic, cleaner, and team therapist, all at the same time. And you know what was crazier? My parents started showing up more at the workshop. First just to take a look. Then they came more often. They didn't get their hands dirty much, but they loved making a point of saying they always believed it could be saved. It was funny because just months before, they were ready to sell everything and disappear. But that was fine. I let them. For all, it was theirs too, right? Little by little, things started to turn around. I managed to close a partnership with a ride-sharing app that needed quick maintenance for drivers. That gave a boost to the cash flow. Then I started promoting the workshop on Instagram. I posted before and after pictures of repairs, shared simple maintenance tips. The account blew up. Customers from neighboring areas started coming, people who had never even heard of us. The workshop went from a forgotten place to a local reference. It was at this point that I started to delude myself a little, I admit. I thought recognition would come naturally. That my parents would look at me and say, "Thank you." Or maybe just a simple "you did this." But it didn't come. On the contrary, it seemed like the more the workshop grew, the more they wanted to take back control of everything. They started voicing opinions on everything again, but without actually getting involved. It was as if now that the boat wasn't sinking anymore, they wanted to be the captain. And I was just the girl who rowed when no one else wanted to be on the boat. I held back, you know? I swallowed my pride. I thought, fine, family is like that, let it go. But there was one thing that really hurt. One day, my dad called me for a chat. I thought it was something serious, maybe recognition, or who knows, even a formal talk about a partnership. But no. He said he was thinking of bringing in my cousin to help with management. He has a degree in business, he said. He'll bring more professionalism. God, the cousin he was talking about is the same one who spent his whole life mocking my hard work, saying that being a mechanic was for people who didn't succeed. And now, out of nowhere, he was the solution? But I took a deep breath. Again. And I tried to stay calm. If it was good for the business, I'd agree. But in practice, that cousin did nothing. He showed up late, left early, spent all day on his phone. And when someone complained, guess what? "Oh, he's still getting the hang of it," my parents would say. But with me, there was no getting the hang of it. I was thrown into the fire and had to put out the flames alone. Till I kept going. 'Cause I believed in it. The workshop was my mission. I had plans. I wanted to expand, maybe open another branch, even start a mechanic school for young people in tough situations. But then came the blow. One random Saturday, my dad called me for an alignment meeting. I thought it was about expansion, new ideas. But it was something else. They had hired a consultant. And this consultant recommended changes in the company's structure. According to them, I was too emotionally involved and that was interfering with decision-making. I just stared at the two of them, my mom and dad, talking to me like I was just some employee. Like I hadn't slept at the workshop, renegotiated debts, worked with grease on my hands every single day. And then the bomb dropped. We've decided it's best for you to take some time off. Focus on other things. The workshop will continue under different management for now. That sentence hit me like a ton of bricks. Different management. That was it. They were removing me. Pushing me away from the place I had brought back to life with my own sweat. I was speechless. I think I gave a nervous half-laugh, half-sad. I looked them in the eyes, searching for any hesitation. There was none. Only coldness. No gratitude. No love. Just a decision made. I stood up. Said okay. Walked out of the room. Grabbed my stuff. And left. They didn't even call me back. Didn't try to justify it. To them, I had been useful and now I was no longer needed. I drove aimlessly for hours. Ended up in a high spot in the city where I could see all the lights down below. And I stayed there, sitting on the hood of my car, with a lump in my throat that I didn't know if it was anger, sadness, or just pure emptiness. I had saved what they were ready to bury. And now they were burying me. But deep down, something was starting to change in me. A spark. A desire to turn the page. 'Cause if I could save a broken business, I could rebuild myself. The first days after that silent firing felt like walking in the dark. I kept waking up early, out of habit, and only after a few minutes would I remember. I didn't need to go to the workshop anymore. And when I remembered, it felt like getting punched in the stomach all over again. The workshop was still my emotional home, but physically I had been kicked out of it. I won't lie, I cried. I cried alone in the car, in the shower, even at the supermarket. There was so much bottled up inside me. It wasn't just the work they had taken away. It was the trust. It was the history. It was the certainty that, in the end, family would always recognize your effort. But that didn't happen. For a while, I thought about disappearing. You know that cliché of getting on a random bus, vanishing into a small town, and starting over? Yeah, I wanted that. But then something inside me spoke louder. You made it this far. You're not the kind of woman who gives up when she's kicked out. You're the kind of woman who comes back with her own empire. That's when I started looking at everything I had done in the workshop through different eyes. I had given the business a new face, created a more agile customer service system, built a committed team, gained a loyal clientele. And so much of it was done using my own methods. I had created a new culture there, a modern, human way of running things. But all of that, it only existed in my head. And then I had an idea. I grabbed my old notebook, the one I always carried in the pocket of my overalls, and I started writing everything down. Processes, customer service ideas, workflow management, inventory control, supplier negotiations. Everything. I spent days writing, organizing, refining. Before I knew it, I had something in my hands that felt like more than just a plan for a workshop. It was almost a replicable business model. That was the seed of my new project, to start my own workshop from scratch. But not just that. I wanted to do it differently. I wanted to build something modern with a tech touch but still soulful. A place where the customer wasn't just another number. Where the mechanic had a voice, had respect. Where you didn't have to be family to be valued. But I had no money. And everything I had saved had gone to cover bills from my parents' workshop. Even part of the renovation money had come straight from my personal savings. No contract, no receipt. Just trust. Yeah. So I started small. I talked to friends, ex-customers, partners. I told them my idea. Showed them the project. And to my surprise, the response was amazing. So many people offered to help however they could. A designer friend made my logo for free. An ex-customer, who owned a small chain of gas stations, offered me a corner of her property to start an express workshop. Even the guy from the app one had partnered with before agreed to list me as the exclusive mechanic on the platform if I got my business license. And that's how my new workshop was born, KM0. A name that meant new beginning and at the same time evoked cars, roads, and journeys. First, it was just me, a ramp, and 2 toolboxes. But with every returning customer, every compliment, every referral, I felt like I was on the right path. And more than that, I was building something of my own. For the first time, I was the owner not just of the work, but of the story. Meanwhile, I started hearing through social media that the old workshop was falling apart. Customers were complaining about the service. The cousin who took over admin didn't last 2 months. Some of the employees I had trained were quitting. And ironically, my parents were trying to handle everything alone again, just like in the beginning, only this time without me to put out the fires. I didn't wish them harm, I swear. But I didn't feel sorry for them either. They made their choices. And the consequences came. One day, I was surprised by a message from my mom. Short, direct. "Can we talk?" I took a deep breath before replying. And after a while, I agreed. We met at a neutral cafe, far from the workshop. She came alone. Red eyes, tired face. She said things were hard. That she missed me. That she didn't know my cousin was so irresponsible. That maybe they had been too hard on me. Maybe, I thought. But I let her speak. Then came the request. "Would you consider coming back? The workshop needs you." I stayed silent for a while. Then I said, "Mom, I'm not the same woman who walked out of there humiliated. Today I have my own business. A business I built on my own. There's no space for me to go back. 'Cause now I know my worth." She lowered her eyes and simply said, "I'm sorry." And for the first time in a long while, I felt those words were real. But I didn't need them anymore. 'Cause in that moment, I had already forgiven myself. I had already turned the page. I left that cafe feeling lighter. Not out of revenge, but out of freedom. Because I finally understood I didn't need their approval to be someone. I already was. And as I walked to my car, my phone rang. It was a new customer asking for a quote. I smiled, picked up, and said, "This is KM0. How can I help you?" When I opened my own workshop, KM0, I had no idea everything would grow so fast. In less than a year, we had already built a loyal clientele, word of mouth was spreading like wildfire, and most importantly, I was truly happy. This time, everything was mine. My name, my idea, my way of doing things. I made sure to create a workshop that felt different: transparent service, personalized attention, live videos showing the repairs to customers, things nobody around here was doing. People loved it. They started posting on Instagram, tagging us, recommending us to friends. And then, guess who got bothered? Of course, my older brother. The so-called management genius who had kicked me out of the family business. I started noticing some weird things happening. A customer came in one day and said, "Emma, your brother is trying to copy everything you're doing at the family workshop. He even copied your team's uniforms. But it feels off. Like a cheap knockoff." I laughed. But it was that kind of nervous laugh. I decided to check it out myself. I created a fake profile and went through their social media, and there it was. Now with total transparency. Watch your service live. Even their new logo looked like a clumsy version of ours. They had the nerve to post stories from inside the workshop using a shaky phone, with the mechanic awkwardly staring at the camera and the customer looking like they'd rather be anywhere else. But the worst part? The video they tried to make go viral. My brother appeared in it, trying way too hard, saying, "Here, we work with the truth, just like those young entrepreneurs, but with more experience." Oh my God, the internet tore him apart. Haha, is he trying to be a YouTuber now? Just be Emma, dude. All that's missing is renaming it KM-1. The video did go viral, but for all the wrong reasons. Became a meme in the whole city. Even the local mechanic WhatsApp groups were laughing at it. A small-town influencer even made a reaction video comparing both workshops, ending with, "If it were me, I'd take my car to Emma's workshop." At least they're not pretending to be cool while doing a terrible job. That was the final blow. His attempt to copy me backfired so badly it wrecked the entire image of our old family workshop. Customers lost trust. What was supposed to be a reinvention became a punchline. Public disaster. And me? I stayed silent. I didn't need to say a thing. People could tell who was authentic and who was desperately clinging to what used to be. My brother disappeared for a while. Rumor has it he went on a trip. Maybe to hide from the shame. Then, a few weeks later, I got a message from him. Dry and to the point. You won. Good luck. I read it, took a deep breath, and thought, winning was never the plan. I just wanted respect. But that's okay. Life goes on, and sometimes justice comes with a twist of irony. They threw me out like I didn't matter. I stood up, walked away, built something better, and now even those who tried to bring me down are tripping over their own arrogance. KM0 became a symbol of starting fresh. People from other towns started showing up to get service from us. And the craziest part? Former clients of the family workshop started coming to me, saying, "We realized the heart of that place was always you." You know what that is? Recognition. Not the kind you ask for. The kind that comes from people. From the streets. From the truth. And in that moment I understood. I didn't just rebuild my self-esteem. I reclaimed my story. And now it belongs to me and only me.